Hey, what is up guys? As promised, I'm going to be making a sort of proof video where we'll basically be going over the evidence that foreshadowed Julius being the fourth sibling. I kind of just wanted to do this in case anyone out there thought that the reveal came out of nowhere, since I feel it definitely didn't, and especially with all of the information that we now have throughout the story about the different things going on with Julius. I think it's definitely possible for me to make a short video kind of just going over the different things that show that he definitely was foreshadowed as being one of the fourth siblings. To start off with, the first blatant foreshadow that we got in the story of Julius being at least kind of weird at the time, I guess, if you really thought about it then, is the fact that he was shape-shifting into a woman to spy on Asta in his first introduction. I don't really know how I didn't instantly think to myself that it was weird that he supposedly has time magic, but he's able to shapeshift, but he was doing it during that instance that we saw him. And even if anyone could argue that he aged himself up, how could he have changed his gender when he had aged himself? That wouldn't really make a lot of sense. It's one of those things where at the time you kind of just brushed it off as nothing, but after the latest chapter, with what we know, what we know that's going on, it is really weird. And there's also the fact that for some reason during the dungeon arc, which we're gonna kind of get into, he was able to, or he was about to read the devil language that Asta had showed him in his grimoire, but then he stopped himself saying, "Oh, nah, I can't read it," basically, and that really is weird. But let's not get out of order. Let's go on to our next point. Another thing I found very interesting after what we know in the recent chapter is that the person that basically led Asta into finding his Demon Dealer sword and finding Bell the Wind Spirit was technically Julius himself. And I think this really does play into what I'll talk about a bit more at the end of the video, where it was basically the idea that Julius is essentially forcing everybody to basically become stronger and gain strength in order for them to have fought Lucifero and have the highest chance of winning said fight. I'll talk about this a bit more at the end, but as I was saying before, it's kind of odd that he was able to basically tell them both to go to this dungeon, go to that dungeon, and that purposely led them to finding the two biggest biggest power boosts that they were able to get at the time, and this completely changed their level of strength after they went through the entire dungeon. And I definitely think that it was really him trying to make sure that they were strong enough to have the highest probability of winning against Lucifero during that fight. It's just super weird looking back how, like, supposedly out of nowhere, this dude that's been wandering the world, collecting or learning about different magic types, learning about different things, was able to just purposely be like, hey, go to this temple or this dungeon, go get the wind spirit that will really boost your wind magic, and Asta, go to this dungeon and go get this other anti-magic sword that'll really help you fight, since you don't have magic. Like, it's just very weird looking back at it right now. Another point of interest that I think it's very important to bring up is the fact that somehow he was able to bring together both Yami of Dark Magic and William of World Tree Magic into the Magic Knights, where he had the easiest access to them. The two very magic types that he needs to summon the Tree of Clypoth to open the gates to the underworld. It's just very crazy looking back at this, since it's like, we thought at the time that he was just, trying to bring these two lost souls basically into the Magic Knights to give them a place to basically reside and some purpose. But now that we know what we know in the latest chapter, it seems that he purposely brought them together, knowing that these were the two seemingly most important people that he needed to bring upon his plan of defeating Lucifero at the time, and he needed them to even open up the gates of the underworld. Our next point of proof is his fight with Patri, which is one of the most controversial fights in the series. As much as it was cool at the time, I did find that it was very weird that he even lost to him, considering that he was, only trying to capture him, not really defeat him or hurt him. But it still didn't really make sense that he lost, and now it does, now that we know that he probably never really wanted to win against him in the first place. Licht and Patri basically at the time were like the biggest catalyst of Asta and and even Yami and a lot of other people becoming stronger during that entire arc. So it makes sense that he didn't want to interfere with basically their ability to become stronger and become able to fight at the end of the Spade arc. it makes sense that he would have stayed in the back and given them time to become stronger. Asta gained his black divider and, became even more adept at using his spirit dive, along with even people like Yami gaining mana zone and being able to do that dark that equinox ability. All of them became way stronger during this fight, and it makes sense that he wanted to move himself off to the side so that he didn't have to interfere with them becoming stronger. And then this also makes complete sense why he turned into a child at the end of the arc, since he further again wanted to stay out of their affairs, stay out of their fights, and let them gradually become stronger. And it also makes sense that he even predicted that Asta would die, 6 months in the future. It makes a lot of sense. He probably did see a future where that happens, and his whole point of doing all of this was to prevent that from happening. And so I think he definitely wasn't lying about Asta passing away. It's just that he purposely did all of this so that it wouldn't happen. This will also lead us into one of the coolest theories that I feel has come out of these recent chapters, and I honestly find this theory so cool. And to the Twitter user that even started to think of like the weird discrepancies with the clocks in the final arc or the latest arc of Black Clover, I think he's just amazing for even thinking about that. But basically, Twitter user, I think it's pronounced Duke Sealtz, I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, he noticed some weird inconsistencies with the clocks during the Spade arc, and although his theory was slightly different from, blatantly saying that Julius is the one doing it, I think it was very excellent that he even really noticed that the clocks were changing. And he noticed this about a year ago, about March of 2021. He noticed that the clocks were doing some weird stuff, and I think that's very cool. And many people believe that the clocks doing this is an indicator of Julius messing with time himself during the arc, trying to get the greatest results from the fights that he wanted. And this would also imply that there's the possibility that during these fights, the Heart Kingdom fighters, the Clover Kingdom fighters, everybody could have died multiple times upon multiple times, and he could have prevented all this from happening, from reversing and making them, changing things up or something, or just reversing and them doing different things to finally get the ending that he wanted them to get. And this really isn't out of the realm of possibility, considering that you basically have limitless things that you could even do with something as flexible as time itself. I personally think it would be great if Tabata actually does say that this theory is a confirmed thing and really confirms that, he was messing with time. I think that'd be awesome, and I think that'd be one of the coolest elements of the Spade arc, the fact that there were multiple times where people blatantly passed away, but it got changed because of him manipulating time. I would want a point in the story where maybe they confront Lucius and they're talking to him, and he's basically telling them about how they died multiple times throughout the fight, and it was him that even rewinded it and gave them the chance to come back and do things differently during the fights. I think that'd be very cool, and it'd be a huge flex on his part, and it'd kind of get everybody thinking like, Jesus, like how are we going to defeat somebody like this if there is a confrontation like that where they're just blatantly about to go, hand to hand with them. I think there's some more points that I could have gotten into, but I think this is a good spot to just wrap up this video with. I didn't want to make it too long. I just wanted to touch upon some of the different inconsistencies at the time that have been kind of solved with the recent chapter. And I just want to say that I genuinely like this theory, and I thought it was so insane. I did have theories about Julius being one of the devil hosts. I kind of wish that I had actually tweeted about it at the time. But I've always felt that it was kind of weird that all of these siblings had those markings on their head, and he also had one of those markings on his forehead. But I also found it weird when we learned that there was a time devil, that he had time magic himself. So I thought that's kind of weird that he has the markings. He also has time magic. Nobody else has that. Maybe he is a host, but I never really put it down anywhere. I kind of just had it in my head, but it's still very cool, and the reveal still caught me off guard. I was like, Jesus, I didn't really see this coming too much. It was just a great reveal on Tabata's part. He really did a great job with it. I just wanted to basically go over the different proof about him being a traitor in this video and talk about some fan theories. And I also do want to hear anybody else's theories in the comments about how they think things will move forward during the next arc of the story, which is also sadly the last arc of the story. I do want to make another video, a My Hero video after this one, basically talking about if people think that the final arc of My Hero right now is being rushed, since I kind of do feel like it is being rushed. And I don't know, with the Black Clover thing, I feel like it does make sense that this could be a final arc, but I just remember Tabata saying that he wanted it to be about as long as something like Naruto or One Piece, and I do think it's still possible he could go the 1,000-year blood war from Bleach route and make just like a very, very, very long final arc, which I would absolutely love. I would love him to basically make this arc as long as possible and flesh out as many different things as he can. But I definitely do want to know what you guys think about all of this, and if you like the video, consider liking and subscribing. It really does help me out, and thank you for watching, and I'm out. Peace.